really like to learn from you some of the strategies that you've put in place to manage your workloads and how you go about prioritizing tasks. So Annie, why don't we start with you? Are there any strategies that you have implemented that you could share with our attendees today?
Yeah, absolutely. Lists. Everything is on a list. I'm a big color coding person. So because I wear so many different hats, I try and color code things so that I can remember, kind of in my brain about where I'm supposed to be or what I'm supposed to be doing or who I'm supposed to be supporting in that time. And then for me, the big thing is the Pomodoro technique. And I'm not sure if you are familiar with this. This was something that was recommended to me in university, is setting a timer for about 25 minutes and just fully focused, completely immersed in the task, and then taking a little break. And for me, I'm not a sit down kind of all day person. You may sort of start to feel I'm a little bit of exciting. I need to move. I need to have physical activity. And so I'll take that time to either run around the office and do a bunch of other tasks or do a little stretch and have a moment for myself. But I try and take the day in little 25-minute chunks.
Yeah, that's a great technique. That's one I always try to live by. But by the time sort of 45 minutes has gone past, you realise you've not had your break. So no, yeah. I love that technique. It's a great one.
The other thing that is interesting is interruptions, and I know that that'll be later in our conversation. But trying to deal with all those interruptions and just how does that fit in, and trying to navigate, do I stop the timer? Do I keep going? Do I change? Do I pivot? And to your point, it becomes very easy to lose some of those breaks.
Yeah. And Hannah, to bring you in, are there any strategies that you implemented?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm also a hopeful fan of the Pomodoro technique, but like you, Nicky, I kind of fail sometimes. But I was thinking about it, and really my key thing is, because I've for a long time worked in multinationals where they're largely American owned, and this is an English one, but it's American client base, and my boss is in America. So for me, it's always been, really working out like the best time in your day to do different things. And obviously lists, triage lists. In my company, everything moves 1,000 miles an hour. I'm sure it does in startups and every company. But to keep on top of it, I really like to have lists, loads of lists, but within those lists, I'm constantly reappraising, because every 10, 20 minutes throughout the day, once my boss comes online, is, completely taken up, and I'm just kind of waiting. I have zero time for myself to do any other work. It's a very intensive one-to-one kind of relationship. So therefore, for me, it's about finding, and that's wherever you are, I think, is finding your day, structuring your day so that there's a bit of time for you to, when can you do your focus work? So for me, that's like, okay, so Asia in the morning, Europe in the daytime, and then America coming online at the end of the day. So most of our clients are in the West Coast, or some in the East Coast. My boss is on the East Coast. So for me, it's largely like the morning is head down, get on, sort stuff out, recreate your list, look ahead at what's coming overnight from the States, work it out. So it's about finding your time and going with the grain on that, so that you can be focused at a time when you're going to be able to be focused. And for me, that's invaluable, because I am very easily distracted. So if I know I've got the bulk of the heavy stuff out of the way in the morning, and then again at the end of the day, I take a bit of time once America's online and everyone's set up. So for me, that's the way I work, and it just means that I kind of know what's coming. And the other thing is that I would say is that I always use a kind of annual plan. Once you've been in a job for a while, you kind of know what's coming up, week, month, day, week, month, year. So every year, for example, in TV, you've got markets. So and every company will have that. So I know that there's going to be travel X, Y, Z. I know that there's going to be holidays X, Y, Z. I know that there's, whatever it might be. And I look ahead, and I have an annual planner alongside everything else. And if you're factoring in family and friends and all of this kind of stuff, all that goes in, and it just works symbiotically. So yeah, it's kind of like everywhere's got its place. Everything's got a list, everything's got a planner, and then everything else that comes up is more easily managed. I would say that's my whole thing.
There is so much that I can dig into there, and I'm going to come back to some of the points that you've made there, Hannah, but I just want to bring Christina in, because I could see you nodding away furiously there. So if there's any strategies that you implement, then Please share them because this is gold dust so far.
Oh, it's amazing. I'm just listening to all of you talk. I'm just like, wow, these are all great advice and everything. I just want to plus one to all what you all said about the Pomodoro technique. Like, I finally started using it again recently, and it's been such a great way to just like stay focused on single tasks. I mentioned earlier that I'm a recovered productivityist, and I feel like I've tried out so many different systems, tools, processes, and all that stuff. And I think what I've discovered from all those experimentations is that it's just important to build out a system that consists of whether it's processes, tools, and habits to help you stay productive, that works with your own working style and meshes with your execs, and one that you actually stick with. Because if you don't stick with the system that you've set up, there's no point in using that. But one of the key strategies that I use to manage a heavy workload is just to use technology to my advantage. So I work in an automation company, so a big part of that is, of course, automating repetitive tasks. So let's say that if you catch yourself writing the same email or message, create a snippet for that. I use a tool called Text Expander, and I've got snippets for just about everything. So, for example, my CEO gets certain customer emails every couple of days, and I have a snippet that I use for those replies. I just type in a short abbreviation, and presto, it adds in a whole entire email with personalization included, their names included there, their little things that I add on there. And then if let's say like you catch yourself repeating a task, find a way to automate that task. So as an example, I have a workflow that automatically creates the biweekly meeting agenda for my exec and her team. And so that workflow also then sends out a message on Slack. So we use Slack. So a message is sent out on Slack that prompts her direct reports to add the discussion topics ahead of time. And so using technology and all these tools to your advantage, it just frees up your time so that you're not spending so much time on the repetitive tasks, so that you can focus on those higher impact tasks from your workload.